Hello, amazing people. Ruth Ovuema is here again with the Be Courageous podcast. I know. I am so excited to be here. And guys, you know what? I have a wonderful series all lined up, all planned for you. Without wasting more time, let's get straight into it. So I'm going to be doing this podcast series on bouncing back from tragedy. How do you bounce back when you've just gone through a very tough and difficult time? How do you get yourself back? How do you get your spring back, your laugh back, your smile back? Is it possible to come out of a really dark time in your life? And in order for us to walk through this process, I'm going to be doing it together with a Bible character called Naomi. So we're going to be going through the entire Book of Ruth. It's only 4 chapters, don't be scared. If you haven't read the book, go through, read the whole thing. It's only 4 chapters. It's very interesting. It's so interesting that lots of movie producers always try to recreate the whole Book of Ruth because it's interesting. So if you like a bit of romance, you like a bit of a chick flick, feel good movie, you like the Book of Ruth as well. Okay, so go through it, read it if you haven't read it already. And if you have, even better, we can talk about it together and run ideas together, bounce ideas together. So you know what? Drop me a comment, share, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. You know what to do. Hit those buttons and I will get right into it. How do you bounce back from tragedy? That's a question Naomi had to answer. Naomi and Ruth, actually, that's a question they had to answer in their lives. And you know the great thing? It wasn't even them per se who needed to answer the question. It was God who answered the question. So they might have been like, God, how am I going to bounce back from this difficult time? How am I going to come out of this tragedy? And it was God's response to them that made the Book of Ruth a lovely book. So let's start. Chapter 1. In chapter 1, we see the beginning, the opening pages. We see one of the most horrific and tragic things that could ever happen to anybody. So, according to research, the 3 most tragic things that can happen to a living person, as long as you're a human being, you breathe, you drink, whatever, there are 3 things that when it happens to you, people will be like, oh, it's so difficult. This is not to undermine all the other things that people go through, but these are the top 3. Like, if this happens to someone, no matter how upset you are with them, you have to forgive them. They are going through a tough time. Number 1, the chief, the top, of them all, is the loss of a child. So whether the child is 15, whether the child is 17, whether the child is 7, even a miscarriage can be quite tragic. So when you see someone who loses a child, you have to be softer on the person because they are going through the worst thing that could happen to a human being. Okay? So our friend Naomi ticked that box. She did not just lose one child, she lost 2 children in a succession. So it wasn't like she lost both of them to a tragic situation. So she had the same day to get, or she had the same time frame to get over it. So she lost one, time passed, she lost another one. So Naomi was sealed in grief. The second most tragic thing to happen to someone is the loss of a spouse. So Naomi also lost her spouse. So if even divorce, separation is also considered to be the loss of a spouse because it's the death of a relationship, and that is extremely hurtful and painful. So when people are going through the death of a spouse, when people are going through divorce and separation, that's not the time to begin to make funny comments and, to begin to point out their faults and say, it's your fault, it's that. No, they're going through a tragic time. Have some empathy, have some mercy. That's the second most tragic thing to happen to a person. And then finally, and obviously that happened to Naomi as well, she lost her husband. I'm not quite sure if she lost them before or after she lost her sons. I'm not quite sure, but she lost her husband. So that was sorrow on top of sorrow on top of sorrow. And the final thing that could happen to anybody is to have to be evicted or to lose your present your present should I say your community, yes, I'll put it that way, to lose your community. That's another tragic thing that happens. So when things like wars break out and people are forcibly displaced from where they've lived and where they've known as their home all their lives, that is another tragic thing that can happen to someone. So when they have to uproot and leave their family, their friends, areas that they've grown up, they've loved, that can be quite tragic. So when you see people who are refugees, people who are escaping war, or even people who have migrated, even though they voluntarily migrated, there needs to be a bit of research, in my opinion, to see the psychological impact of voluntary migration. It does have an impact on mental health, emotional well-being as well. People just uprooting, even if they're living to places that are, economically better than where they used to live, it can still be a bit tragic for them, even though they don't want to admit it. It can still be a bit unsettling. So our dear friend, sister, mentor Naomi had gone through all three of them. She had to leave Bethlehem to Moab for economic reasons, and then when she had lost her husband, lost her children, she had to reverse back to Bethlehem. So things were not looking good for Naomi. And that's chapter 1. That's the story of chapter 1. That's the entry of chapter 1. That's what we are greeted with. Loss of husband, loss of children, and loss of her community. But there's something I want to say, that in spite of all that she lost, there was something that she still had, and she still had the love of her daughter-in-law, Ruth. Why am I bringing this in? I'm bringing it in because sometimes when you're going through a tragic situation, you don't count the fact that you still have something. So I understand that you've lost a lot of things, you've lost a lot of people, and you've lost that. But the Bible says that God does not leave himself without a witness. God still left her with someone who loved her. So in spite of the fact that she had gone through a lot, there was still something there. So my encouragement to you right now, if you're going through something, that if you've lost some things, if you've lost something, God is the reason why you haven't lost everything. Because she could have been going through what she was going through, and then there was nobody by her side. But God left himself a witness in the person of Ruth. Ruth was still with her through thick and thin. Now, I want you to know that the people who show you kindness, the people who show you love, they don't just show you love because they are nice people. Well, we know they're nice people, but they're doing it because God has placed it in their heart to do it. So Ruth was not just by Naomi's side because she wanted to be by Naomi's side, because she's her mother-in-law, blah, blah, blah. No, she was by her side because God placed it in her heart to love Naomi. So when you're going through difficult times and you're still seeing a little bit of kindness, maybe you're going through treatment and then there's this nurse that just picks up your case and she's just always there for you, make sure everything is well, make sure things are going on well. That is God's kindness. That is God's demonstration of his love. That is God not leaving himself without a witness. That's God saying to you that I still love you. I know you're going through a tough time, but I still love you. So you might be looking at yourself and like, oh, I want to have a baby. I don't have a baby. What's going on? But you have a husband, and the husband loves you, and he has stayed with you through thick and thin. He's not just doing it because he wants to do it. He's doing it because God has empowered him to do it. You might have, lost your job, but your partner still has their job. Even though it's just one income coming in, it could have been worse. It could have been 2 incomes down. But the fact that there is one income is a sign from God that he still loves you. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. And that's where we are right now in the story. Ruth is still by her side. And then Oprah, the other woman, I can never get her name right. Is it Oprah? Is it Ofa? I don't know. You guys need to tell me. Oprah Winfrey made her popular, guys. I'm not sure she was a character that I've never heard anybody call their child Oprah or Ofa. If they do, it's because of Oprah Winfrey. At least in this generation, nobody knew her. So this is to say, and then she left Naomi, right? And there's no disrespect to Oprah. This is just to let you know that some people, their time in your life is over. Oprah left because her time was up. you know. She must have been nice enough to Naomi in her days when they were together. But when her time was up, her time was up. She no longer had a purpose. God had no more purpose in her life for Naomi. That's why she went back. So sometimes people leave you, or you find out that, something has changed drastically and you're feeling like, oh God, what is this? Why is it happening? Don't feel like that. Their time is up. You had a good job, you loved the job, you did everything to make the job click, it didn't click, and now you're without a job. That's fine. Its time and its purpose is over. The Bible says that there is a time and a purpose for everything on the earth. So this person who had just abruptly left you, is okay. We respect them, we thank them for the time that they were with us and all the things that they did by God's grace, but their time is up. And if their time is up, there's nothing you can do. So my encouragement to you is that don't be excessively heartbroken when people leave you. Don't be excessively heartbroken. Their time is up. And if their time is up, it's up. There's nothing to do. So that was why Oprah left, because her time was up. And, the relationship between Ruth, Naomi, is to be studied, guys. How are they so close? Do you realize that Naomi and Ruth are not even biologically related? But they're just so close. They're just sticking to each other through thick and thin. And this is calling all of us out. Calling the mother-in-laws out, calling the daughter-in-laws out. We can really do better in our relationships. Even though our mother-in-laws are not our biological mother, God expects us to treat them well. In the eyes of God, they're still our mothers. Maybe not your birth mother, maybe she didn't push you up, maybe she hadn't brought you up, but somehow by marriage, she has become your mother. And that goes for mother-in-laws as well. Maybe, she's not your biological daughter, but by marriage, she has now become your daughter in the eyes of God. So you have to treat her with kindness, you have to treat her with love, you have to treat her with compassion. She might not be as well behaved as your natural daughters are, but you just have to make excuses for her and just love her as much as it lies within your power. I have to say that, because some people, I have no more to say. Some people we'll just leave them for God. But as long as it lies within your power to just be a kind person and to be a loving person and to be a good Christian to these people, just do it. That was the kind of relationship that Ruth and Naomi had. At a point in the story when I was reading it, I even forget that they are not mother and daughter. I have to remind myself that, okay, they are mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. And the interesting thing is that the string that brought them together was no longer there. The son that she had married was dead. So she was no longer by law bound to Naomi. So she wasn't staying with Naomi because she was her mother-in-law any longer. She was just staying there because of love. And this is a call out to all of us who do things because of what we can get. If you're going to do things, there are people who you will never see them do anything that they don't suspect that they're going to get something out of. Stop it. Just love people. Don't be like, don't let every relationship be a transaction. Don't let every act of kindness be a transaction. Don't have this mindset of, so what's in it for me? There's nothing in it for you. Okay, just be kind and go home. There's nothing in it for you. A lot of people have been like, so why should I do it if it doesn't benefit? Okay, it's not benefiting you. Then don't do it. You see, if Ruth had that mindset of, it has to benefit me, there's nothing in it for me, she would never have had the bountiful future that she had, that we begin to see in chapter 3 and 4. She just went with Naomi, not because of what she could get, because obviously Naomi had nothing to give her. Naomi said to her, I don't have anything to give you. And she was like, don't you worry. It's not about what I'm going to get from you, but I'm just going to stand by you. So enter relationships and don't be a hustler. Let me just put it that way. Don't be a hustler. Don't be like, what am I going to get? What am I going to do? People have gotten married because of what they are going to get. People have done things because of what they are going to get. And at the end of the day, they did not get anything. Because that sort of behavior doesn't please God. Oprah Orpah left Naomi because she thought she couldn't get anything. If she knew that by staying with Naomi, she was going to remarry someone who was very wealthy and she was going to become, an ancestor to God when he came on earth, she wouldn't have left. So she left because she thought she was not going to get anything. So yes, be strategic in the things that you do, but don't be a grabber. Give more than you get. Have an open heart, and you will see how God will bless you. All right. So, and then the part of this chapter that strikes me again is in verse 22, chapter 1, Ruth 1:21. I'm going to read it. It says, "So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning." I love this verse. I love this verse. And the reason why I love it is because this verse is a sign that God was working behind the scenes. So when they were not expecting, when they were heartbroken and they thought that it was all over, they just moved from Moab to Bethlehem, and they were heavy in their hearts. They were feeling like, oh, God has abandoned us. God has left us. But at this point where you feel that God has left you, God is just beginning. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Why is that verse important? Because if they had come in winter when there was no harvest, chances are that she would never have met Boaz. Ruth would never have met Boaz. Or if they had come in another season, Ruth and Boaz would never have met and their stories would never have changed. But God had orchestrated it such that Ruth and Boaz met. And the reason why they met was because it was harvest season and Ruth had to go to the fields to do some harvesting. As random as this text is, it's just a text that just seems like it's just been thrown into the story somewhere just so that you can paste the story and know the location of the story. That's not what it's doing. It's letting you know that God had arranged their arrival. God had arranged their arrival into Bethlehem to coincide with Boaz meeting Ruth. I want you to know that there are no haphazard events with God. God is not random. God is strategic. God is intentional. God is deliberate, especially for people that love him. Naomi loved Ruth. Naomi loved God. Ruth loved God. And because they loved God, God was strategic. The Bible says in Romans 8:28, we know that all things work together for good. For those that love God and are called according to his purpose. So Ruth loved God. Ruth and Naomi loved God. And they were called according to his purpose. But even though their circumstance at the time did not seem as though they were called according to the purpose, even though it did not seem as though God was interested, God was near, even though it seemed as if God had forgotten, but Romans 8:28 stands sure. And it was saying that all things work together. So my encouragement to you today is that all things are working together. All things are working together. God will arrange things so that everything will work together for your good. So if you're in the middle of a tragic circumstance and you're heartbroken and you're crying, yes, there is a season to cry. There is a time to cry. That's what the Bible says. And you are going through your time to cry. And that's okay. You're going to come out of it. But just know that God brought Ruth and Naomi out of darkness and tragedy, and he will do it for you. All things will work together for good. You would arrive at your harvest time in order for you to meet your Boaz, and God will make all things work out for you. So that's all we can take for the Be Encouraged podcast. I hope you have been encouraged. I hope you have been edified. If you have, drop me a comment, share this video, like it, because why won't you do that? Do it, and I will see you on the next podcast. It's going to be even more loaded. See you. Thank you.